You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the Relationship Engineers, Jim Gulnick and Lisett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions, where you can get your step-by-step, easy-to-follow, simple plug-and-play plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be in 90 days. "90 Days Soulmate" is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions. Welcome to 90 Days Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
Tonight we're talking about do not pass go. And why I use that, and Lisett asked me, what does do not pass go? And I just remember the game, I think it was Monopoly, where it's like do not pass go, do not collect your $200, and it was a penalty. But it was because relationships sometimes can be treated as a game, I thought of that as a portion of our title. And the actual title is do not pass go. Go back to your ex. So is that a penalty or is that a benefit?
We can see.
We can. So last night we watched a movie. We're not going to talk about what the name of the movie was, but it's the typical movie, right, where man and woman in this movie, the couple has problems in their marriage. They're unhappy. They start off in love, and then as time goes on, they just kind of drift apart. They start, it actually goes back to something we had in our book, right? Where people meet and they do everything the other person wants.
Mm-hmm. Try to the promotion time.
Promotion time. And I think one of the examples, and I had one example in our book, that when I had met my first wife, that she liked going to the gym with me, or at least I thought she did. Until I found out that she only did that because she wanted to spend time with me, and then it was she didn't really actually want to go to the gym. Is that a good or bad thing? Well, if there's more and more things that come up that's not actually how the person is, they can start to get resentful.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So I can't be me because, at first it's I want to do the things you want to do because I like being with you. And then you feel trapped, like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. But now you feel I can't say anything, and then there's resentment. So that's why we say be authentic from the beginning. So what is this about? Why do people want to get back with their ex? Should they?
It's a different situation, but sometimes you know somebody long time, and then you separate, and you start to compare it with the next relationship. Oh, I did with my ex this, and with this new person, I don't do, or any human compare every stuff. So you maybe value what you have in the past and say, oh, maybe I go back to my ex.
So I think as humans, we tend to remember, sometimes, some of us remember the opposite, but I think we tend to remember the good things about relationships. For most people, I think most people are positive. And they are, why I'm looking over here is our other computer that gives us a feed for the PowerPoint presentation that we're including in here, is just doing random things and loading software up, hold on, let me close this off. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's loading other software, which it shouldn't be. We're having a meeting, a PowerPoint meeting now. No, okay, go ahead if you want. So, we talk about how people like doing what the other person wants to do at the beginning of relationships and how that can change over time, building resentment. They get apart, but then they're in another relationship, and suddenly as humans, we tend to, romanticize? Mm-hmm. Oh, he wasn't that bad. I really like being with him. Or if you're single now, you're on your own,
you don't want to feel alone versus, and you believe that you missing the person versus move on.
So in how many people, there's this one study in here, let's click on here and go to the study. One study talks about that people who want to go back to their ex, that 15% of people actually won their ex back and got back with their ex-lover, ex-boyfriend, ex-partner, ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-man.
Ex-woman.
Ex-woman. That 14% got back together and they just broke up again. 70% never reconnected at all. So I guess these were people, and I'm not sure if it was just all people or those who thought that they wanted to get back and they were unable to. So 70% never really got back, 15% did and stayed, and 14 just broke up again, 14%. So if it's 100 people, 70% or 70 of those people never were able to reconnect. 15 of those people did and got into a relationship, and 14% or 14 people of those 100 got in to break up again. So you're back in that relationship with the ex. And by the way, this is just one study. You're back in the relationship with the ex. This shows that people can get back with their ex, right?
It's decision the people. We just share information and you figure out you go back or stay.
You can absolutely get back to your ex. This shows that with some effort, with it's actually our next slide. So let's go to our next slide. These are some of the things that are interesting. That with a little bit, maybe a lot of effort, time, understanding reality. Maybe when you were first together, you didn't actually understand what it took to be in a relationship, and now you do. And so now you have a new sense of reality. Or maybe you just lower your expectations. You know what? This is as good as it gets. Why not just stick with it? So it is possible to get back with your ex. So if you're thinking of it, do you think it's a good thing?
It depends how the people think, because everybody's different.
Yes.
But in general, when I see this data, looks like is more negative than positive.
So you think there might be a study that researched if it was positive or negative to get back to your ex? I think there is. Mm-hmm. And so 40 to 50% have returned with an ex. Okay, so this is a different study. A different study is saying that, so that one said that, 29% did and only 15 stayed. This one said that 40 to 50% of people have reunited with an ex. So that means 40 to 50% of relationships, people have gone back to a relationship they've had in the past. But the study also showed that these relationships were lower quality relationships.
Yeah, because you bring all your past. Is the people is connecting. I thinking that you have to reset your mind if you come back to your ex. It's difficult because you have memories.
You have all the bad memories. Now, not only the good memories, but now the reality. And we just talked about the reality sets in. The reality sets in. Maybe you do have lower expectations, and then you realize, I don't want to have these lower expectations.
Yeah.
Or you live with them, and then it's a lower quality. So some of the different things that are spoken about in this research about the people who do get back together. So there are some that are successful getting back together and they have a better relationship. But generally speaking, if you do go back with an ex, the reports are lower satisfaction, less felt validation, so they don't feel as validated. I guess it's because they broke up, got back together, and now they're accepting of this lower standard of a relationship. That less love. They feel less love.
Wow.
But why? Why do you think they feel less love?
Because if you break up with something, so in the moment that you break up, part of the love
It's gone.
It's gone. So based upon that you forgive, that you love so much, so this part definitely you miss in the first breakup.
So we'll spend the rest of our lives together in therapy. I love therapy.
Okay.
No, I don't. So what else? Lower sexual satisfaction. Maybe it's because you really you feel you've settled on the relationship, so it's someone you know, it's somebody you're accepting of their faults, or you don't accept their faults, but you accept to stay in that relationship. So you're just not as excited to be with the person. So even though you decide to get back together, this is just reporting that people have experienced lower sexual satisfaction. We don't actually have the answer as to why. We're making some assumptions as to why. And lower needs fulfillment. So the things I need are less fulfilled. Maybe they were more fulfilled at the early stage of the relationship where the person was in the, what was that? Promotion mode.
Promotion time, yeah.
And during the promotion mode, they felt really in love. They felt like their needs were being fulfilled because both people were lying to each other and acting. And do you remember when we talk about when you're in love and how your frontal cortex shuts off and so you're doing things that logically you wouldn't do, and maybe those things are creating this love chemistry at the beginning of a relationship where you just can't be away from the other person.
Hey, when you reconnect with the same people, you don't have to do all this part because
you don't have it anymore.
Gone. So and then you missing this emotion, sexual moment which you have a new relationship.
So it's a new relationship without chemistry.
That is dangerous.
Yeah. So that's it. So that's our topic for tonight, is why people go back to their ex, number one. Is it potential to be successful? Yes, we've determined that it is potentially successful. But overall, generally speaking, those relationships are of lower quality than relationships where people never separated. And to have a relationship, and we'll say it this way, a transparent relationship that from the beginning and continues to be who you are and who they are, and you both know what you want in that relationship, tends to lead to a more fulfilling relationship, more sexual satisfaction, more love, more validation.
You can share that. Yeah.
And we'll say it's the opposite of what we're about to share here. So this is when you get back together, again, lower satisfaction, less validation, less love, less sexual satisfaction, less need fulfillment. In the back of your mind, there's always those things that drove you apart in the first place. And you're basically settling to be together. You may make a logical decision, but as soon as you make a logical decision, it's using your frontal cortex, and you're no longer fooling yourself. And why that's important, there's so many of these subjects that are intertwined. We talked about a study, if you remember this a couple of episodes ago. The study was those people who had false beliefs of their relationship, like they saw their relationship much better than it actually was. They saw their partner as more beautiful and more smart and more sexy and more better of a person than like in reality they were. But that's how they imagined the person. Those people who were able to feel that actually had better relationships when you put your partner on a pedestal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the point is how much you have the capacity to admire your partner. Mm-hmm. And also you have to admire yourself first. If you don't feel who you are, it's difficult that you recognize in others.
That's true. Recognizing who you are and that you have worth. And I've seen a lot of people, who are they called usually? Not therapists, but the people who are guides, love guides, or how to get coaches. There you go. Thank you. Coaches who talk about you have to love yourself first before you can love someone else. It's true. It's absolutely true.
And the other case is also after that you need to figure out that your partner, what area you admire. Because if you see all negative stuff in others, you never love. So I admire you so much. And then this is the way that you connect in this level. Okay.
So I think we're on to something that we're going to talk more about right after this break on 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
See you in a second. 90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions. Welcome back to 90 Days Soulmate with Lisett.
And Jim.
We're talking about getting back with your ex. We're talking about different subjects around that. One of the things we were talking about, admiration, admiring your partner. So now you're with somebody. And this is something that long-term admiration comes from knowing what you value up front. The problem with human relationships is that they start off in this chemical animal mode where the frontal cortex, the logical portion, the logical processing is shut off. So we start building a relationship where it's really intensely chemistry, sexual attraction. In our book, 90 Days Soulmate, little promotion here, we talk about figuring out who you are, what you're like, what you want in a relationship, and what you'll give to that relationship. So after the chemistry is worn off, it's gone, you're actually in the what you want in your relationship part that you've logically thought about before you got all chemically caught up in the attraction. We are victims of tens of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. We're going to talk a little bit about evolutionary psychology in a moment, but if we don't ever figure out what we want in a relationship and start the relationship by understanding what we want and finding partners who match that, then we constantly get into relationships with something we are attracted to at the beginning, that after this attraction stage goes away and now it becomes long-term love and long-term commitment, that we start thinking logically and we see the flaws that were there all along, but were shut off because our brain was basically shut down for up to 2 years.
I guess in this moment is when you have the capacity to figure out, because maybe this is in the breakout moment.
Yeah.
So you say, I can go back to my ex because I believe or I feel I love, and then I can accept, I can live with the old situation that make the breakup. So this is your own question.
So 90 Days Soulmate may be a good thing to, there's some worksheets in there we always talk about. There's worksheets in there, but you can write down what you like about your partner, what you don't like about your partner, what you want in your relationship. And you can look at it logically, go, I love them, but here are all the places that we don't match, or here are all the places we match.
What if the area is no negotiable,
Non-negotiable areas.
Non-negotiable area. So if you have the list and you say, okay, that is the good, that is the bad, which one I can do some kind of agreement and keep going and accept with the person?
So I would think that people who understand a little bit more now logically the reasons to be getting back together with their ex and can navigate those, what they accept, what they don't accept, and both can say, yes, I can do that. And there's not only a commitment, but a raising of level of this. It's no longer the same relationship we had. It's now a new relationship. That maybe those are the more successful relationships of getting back with your ex. If you want to get back with your ex, but you know that studies show that only 15% of those people who want to are successful, and of those people who are successful and stay together, most
break up in the
no, not most. That those who successfully get together, about half of those break up. But of those who stay together, they have less quality of relationship.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. But if you want to have the best quality of relationship you could possibly have, getting back with your ex, we highly recommend really looking at it logically, writing down things, studying it, make it a new relationship by being new people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And also, I have conversation with some friend and we're talking about values. So some values you cannot negotiate. So do you have some value in the level of honesty or integrity, and the other person don't have? So that is the area that you need to say, I have to become like this person, or this person agree with me with this kind of value.
And you have to make a decision. Do you have the same values? Do you not? And can you accept the other person's values? And can you join them? Can you join their values? You know how some people convert from one belief to another belief? You know, two people become Christian, or they become another religion. They become Jewish, or one takes on the other's religion, the other's beliefs, whatever that may be. When you do, and you say, okay, I will learn to understand what is the core value of you, part of that is your culture, part of it's your religion, your beliefs. And if you go into a relationship saying, I'm going to believe what I believe, you believe what you're going to believe, and somehow we're going to match up our actions. Remember, we think about belief and values. And what Lisett was saying, belief and values. If we say we accept the other person's beliefs and values and they're different than ours, the problem is all those beliefs and values trigger the actions that we do.
Yeah.
So you can't accept someone's belief or values, and then when you see them do something which you can't directly attribute yourself, you go, oh, it's because they believe this or they value that. You know.
And also the one interesting, a basic example. Suppose that one of the partner like to stolen stuff.
Ah, okay.
Okay? And the other person have a value that this is wrong. So I have to live in the same house with somebody stolen stuff.
Yeah.
And I have to be involved in some maybe criminal in the future investigation or whatever is the issue, because I love so much this person. But I don't agree that he's stolen, but it's his problem. So you have the capacity to put your risk yourself for this love, or figure out this is the kind of value that I don't make any agreement.
And if you don't make the agreement, it's and we talked about this in another show. We have so many shows that intertwine. Is it better when you get to a point where you're like, I don't agree with their beliefs and values? The sooner you realize that, the sooner it's better for both of you. And if there are children involved, if there's other family members, if there's their family and your family get together, well, the more stress you have in your relationship, it will impact everyone else. And sometimes the best thing to do is quickly determine this is not going to work and stay separated. I know we started this show as saying, should you get back with your ex? And if you do, and again, some people are successful. It takes effort, time, work, and maybe a change in how you see the relationship. I think something we just learned today is that if both of the people in the relationship take time to develop new knowledge, new skills, that they can actually become different people. They can become more knowledgeable. They can learn some other new values. They may learn a new belief system. They may say, you know what, I do like yoga now. Now I understand the other person better. And by becoming different, you become the same. And you can build a stronger relationship.
Because when you value the difference of the other, so typically we reject the difference. If you see somebody different of you, your immediately reaction is, oh, this is different, I cannot talk. But you need to also, I say agree, and I say a blessing, the planet, I say is a different people, because that is the way how it works.
It does. It's good to have different people and different people who have different values that you can value their values. The point is you may value their values, you may be accepting and tolerant, but it may not be the perfect person to have as your partner in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So something that came to mind is, do you remember when you were growing up, a kid, boy or girl, that you knew when they were 10, 11, 12, and you either liked them a lot or didn't like them a lot, or they were nasty, or whatever their personality was. Mm-hmm. And you haven't seen them for 20, 30 years, and now you see them, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so kind, they're so nice. They now they went to school or they volunteered for 15 years working for, that they did something in their life that changed them completely.
Transform people, yeah.
Because the brain changes.
Yeah, I believe in changes.
And if we didn't change, we'd still be 2 years old and we'd be going,
Like you. Sorry.
So our
Yeah,
emotions would rule. And if our emotions are really good things, but as we know, emotions are meant for elementary survival and not meant for everyday communication. They help add a story, add a flavor to what we're communicating, but they don't necessarily they're not necessarily as meaningful as we place them to be. Again, emotions that were developed across the board for survival, these quick instant triggers of what someone's feeling, those help us be able to navigate life real quick and make assumptions really quickly, but it doesn't allow us to get really deep with that person. What allows us to get really deep is having deep conversation based upon beliefs and based upon values.
Yes, that's right.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into the evolutionary part, and we talked a little bit about that, the emotions that we carry with us. The people who quickly have emotions one way or another, do you know anybody who like quickly gets angry or quickly gets happy or quickly gets sad? They're like all over the place.
Yeah, and I have one yesterday example, but this is for work.
But it's for work, so we're not talking about that right now. But people who quickly get happy, people get angry. Like if it's the same person, they quickly get angry, they're quickly happy. They wear their emotion on the sleeves, and it can be intense.
Yeah.
Anxiety. It can create anxiety that if you think and you try to think about thinking and you think about changing your thinking. We talked about that last week. Is the thinker, the person who thinks about their thinking, the auditor, and we talked about the coder, the person who says, okay, this is how I think about my thoughts and this is how I want to change them. It goes back. It fits in what we're talking about today. Be a coder. Before you go into your relationship again with your ex, you want to become a coder, and you want to think about how you think about things, and you want to say, how do I want to change? And then learn how to change by adding new information, new knowledge, new training. Again, this show last week about coding, about auditing, about thinking, and about animal instincts, that show fits directly in with what we're talking about today. You want to get back with your ex, become different. Both of you become different, and then that relationship becomes different. The same people doing the same thing over the same type of relationship will have the same result.
And also, it's important that they go back to the same or go to a new person. I always believe if you grew up, your emotion, your soul, your mind is when you are in relationship. If you are alone, maybe you can learn, but the practice that we have a day by day with somebody live with you is different. So I believe that your emotion and knowledge and relationship behavior improve if you have somebody.
And when you are with somebody, we are together, and when we're together, we have thoughts. And our thoughts go back and forth and go back and forth and go back and forth, like two strings on a guitar or two strings on a piano or two different instruments playing a note. And those two notes create a harmony. If you know about harmony, those two notes resonate within each other. So if this one has one frequency and this has another frequency, the differences of their frequency create a third note. The one frequency on top of the other frequency creates another note, a fourth note. That frequency on top of the harmony, on top of that note, there's multiple. So two notes create this almost limitless amount of resonance and harmonies. And this creates for us more thought. That what Lisett thinks and what I think becomes deeper, fuller, and more interesting as we discuss things.
Yeah, and then I guess this is the more strong connection that you can have with your partner, because sometimes the partner is talking about routine stuff, the kid, the house, the taxes, the job, the clean the backyard or the front yard. But when you have this moment for deep connection, I guess create more strong relationship.
It does, and I'm going to write down something else here. Goals. So if we have a goal of doing a show on getting back your ex, or should you, and we then start talking, this is new, some of this is new information, some of it incorporates other information. So what we're doing is we're inferring, and we're deducting. We're doing a deductive reasoning where we take different things and we come up with a conclusion, but then we also do inductive reasoning where we take different things, add them together, and come up with a new idea that we never had before. And I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So right now we are learning each other.
We learn more about each other as we focus on a subject that's new to us, whether that's, let's go to a new vacation somewhere we haven't been before, and we have to determine where we're going to stay, how we're going to get there, what we're going to do. That we start learning more about what each like and which each dislikes, but we also are developing new thoughts and new patterns together. Thoughts and patterns
new
together.
Memories.
We're going to talk more about getting your ex back, all these other things that go around it. All these subjects are so fascinating to us. We hope they're fascinating to you. We'll be right back on 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim
after this. "90 Day Soulmate" is brought to you by 90 Day Solutions. Welcome back to 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
Tonight we're talking about getting your ex back. You know, every time we go into commercial and every time we come back, we say 90 Day Soulmate, 90 Day Soulmate. Going to flash the book, 90 Day Soulmate. It can help you with getting your ex back and actually having a better relationship. Or if you're going into a new relationship, it can help you figure out who you are, what you want in that relationship. It can help you get that relationship. As far as our relationship, took less than 90 days from when Lisett wrote this, not book, but wrote the procedure that's in the book, the secret procedure that's in the book. It took less than 90 days.
You want to know what happened in the history?
And what we did recently is we actually wrote a book called While Victoria Dreams, which incorporates dreams, which are actually real dreams that Lisett has had, and our story into a kind of romantic comedy book that goes into the details of the relationship. We highly recommend it. Of course we do.
Of course.
The point of all this is developing what you need to develop to make your relationship stronger and better as you move forward. Okay, we're going to go to the next one, which I wanted to get back to something that I like talking about, and this helps as we have different subjects that all are intertwined. I want to get back to evolutionary psychology, which humans are kind of different in comparison to other mammals, that humans are part of the mammal group that bonds for long-term relationships, and it's only 3% of all mammals. And humans are part of that. Humans are the only great apes that engage in long-term mating, that other, quote, ape species, if the humans are evolved from apes, that we're the only great apes that engage in long-term mating. And that's very interesting. Here's some of the reasons why, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why. I'll flip off the thing that was up there, the little presentation, and go. So, for most animals, and potentially for humans, here are some of the negatives about long-term mating. That if you do long-term mating, all other opportunities to have offspring are lost. So by having multiple partners, you can maybe have offspring everywhere. That's for a male. For male, all other opportunities to have offspring are lost with long-term mating. So when I say male, I don't mean male human, I mean male mammal. So or male of any species, that if you were to have a relationship or mate with just, I think I remember my townhouse 25, 30 years ago. There were 2 ducks. And at the beginning of the season, these 2 ducks took up residence right in front of my front door, next to where the power went into the ground. They built a little nest. So I was able to get in and out of the door. But they built a nest. They laid eggs. They were there all year. And I was like, this is interesting. And they came back. And then I think I heard that ducks are one of those types of animals that do long-term mate. And I don't know what the benefit is, or what's the benefit of that. I don't know, but and whether that's really true, I'd have to look up. But let's assume it's true for the moment. Is that what are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? So one of the other drawbacks for long-term mating is a male of the species may take care of the female of the species, and we're talking about just in species where male female are having offspring, that the male may then protect, the female may supply resources to protect the unborn and then the born child or offspring. And the chance of then that offspring actually not being the child of the male is potential, because when a male then says, long term I want to be with this female, and let's go for all species, not just human. Let's call us orangutans. And the male says, I'm just going to stay with this woman. And only this female of, and I say woman, but this female of the species. And then he goes and he hunts and he comes back and goes and hunts and comes back. While he's away, the monkeys may play. And maybe the female, his orangutan bride, finds the orangutan plumber, and he's pretty hot. He's got good pipe control, and they hook up while the other guy's out hunting, and he comes back home, and he continues to be with her, and then a few months later he realizes she's with child or with offspring, and goes, oh my, I'm now the father. And now that orangutan is protecting, providing food, and if the orangutan was a long-term mater, was spending a lot of time with this female, raising offspring that's not his. So that is a threat for long-term mating. That's a negative, a risk of long-term mating. Is that true is that true with humans?
Because now it's DNA test. That's
So
the problem.
It is. So get your DNA tested. We highly recommend that. So that would be the risk of spending resources on the children of rivals for offspring.
You got it when the monkey like more do pie versus hunting. So why my child not hunting with me? Okay.
He's going to become a plumber.
Yeah.
An orangutan plumber. So, or TV repairman. That could work too. Females. What could be negative for females in long-term mating?
I don't know.
That they're stuck with not the best gene pool. That there's one orangutan, there's one human, there's one fox, there's just one
Cat.
There's just one of the species that you are now mating with, which means you may not have the best genes or opportunity for the best genes. Which let's talk about this. So like you've seen lions and they fight, and you see deer and they fight with their antlers, and then the biggest deer gets to mate with the doe.
Yeah.
Is this like, are the genes that are passed in some animal species by not having long-term mating, and where the males are dominant and they fight over the ability to reproduce, the best genes possible are passed on for survival? That's the idea.
Yeah.
By fighting and having rivals.
Natural selection.
So, why this is important is that, number one, is what we wanted to talk about is why humans want to have long-term mating. Why? Because
For taxes.
For taxes.
Andrew? Okay.
That could be. It could be for that. But humans want to have long-term mating because I think it's for the continuation of society. Part of it is, if you look at some of the, but what's interesting is who in humanity have had the most, like you look at King, who was that, King Henry or King George, the one had like 8 wives?
Yeah,
so,
Henry.
Yeah, so he had long-term mating until his wife died. I'm sorry, until he killed her. Something happened to her. But I think what's promoted for civilization through a lot of times religion, sometimes through society and social, is let's promote long-term mating. And we may have, as a society, decided it's important to do long-term mating because as a controlled society and an ability for things to, just imagine if there wasn't long-term mating, but you had males that wanted to be dominant and fight each other all the time in order to be with women, there'd be civil unrest.
Yeah. If you see some culture or country have a different rate of long relationship, for example, Indian is together for a long time and the divorce rate is low versus American is so high. So you can have some kind of flavor to what happened with the society.
So sometimes long-term mating where it's forced and you don't have any option and this is who you're marrying. You may stay together long-term. Maybe you don't experience all the upfront chemistry and love. But maybe if you don't know any better, I don't want to call it brainwashing, but it's what you know. If it's what you know and what you accept, then maybe your quality of relationship is fine.
Yeah. No, so the one interesting topic that I spoke with my friend yesterday is about the people wanna create happiness in their life,
right.
and try. The topic was I want that my child is happy, and in the conversation, one psychology say it's not right because you need to also provide they have other feeling too.
Okay.
So you don't want to just that your child be happy. You want your child have some upset, angry, sad, everything because it's part of the society.
Oh, okay.
So if you apply this in the relationship, you don't want to have a happy relationship.
Okay.
You want to have a healthy relationship when you can handle all emotion in the good way.
So what I hear when you say that is, if you raise a child to be happy all the time, then they think happiness is the normal state. Mm-hmm. And then when they enter the real world, reality, and they're at a non-happy state, but they're in, let's just call it a moderate state, a mediocre state, where they're in between happy, sad, angry, disgusted, like they're right in the middle of all those emotions, but they don't really feel any one emotion, but they're not happy, they may go, oh, I'm depressed.
Yeah, and feel empty because they don't have the ability to handle other emotion in their real life.
So when people ask me if I'm happy.
You are happy?
I don't really think about it. I have fun, but I think what makes me happy is just activity. Just keep doing stuff. Go to work, come home, go on vacation, just go to the gym, work out. You just stay active. And I think sometimes when we sit and we do nothing, that's when we get most depressed. I'm home by myself doing nothing. I'm now feeling like I'm depressed. But that's not where we're going tonight with our show. Our show is, should we get our ex back? And I'm not sure the word should we. I guess we started about go back to your ex. We talked about at the beginning of the show that studies have shown that of people who want to, only 30% and sometimes 40 to 50% of people do. They actually get back with their ex. They got back. That of those, one study showed half broke up again. The other studies showed that those who got back with their ex and stayed with their ex, that they had lower quality of relationship with their ex. So we talked about what are the things, if we do want to get back with our ex, and we think there are reasons for it, we talked about utilizing some of the ideas that are in this book, 90 Day Soulmate, not to find your soulmate, but to determine what there is in your life, who you are, what you want in your relationship. Look at your ex, who you want to get back together with, and see, go through the same exercises in there, and see if you can become new people.
Or definitely you say, I know, go back and burn all pictures and memory and close the door. Move on. Close the door and not thinking about that. Yeah.
I believe that sometimes our past memories are fictitious. Like we have fond memories of things that really weren't as fond as they were. You know, you remember, you miss the love, you miss the attention, you miss the touch, you miss the feel, you miss the warmth of being with somebody. But whatever reason you drove apart, you became different, you're not really thinking about until you get back in the relationship, and then you have that reality again. And that's why half the people that get back together also split back up. And that's why the ones who remain together, maybe they're remaining together because they're like, we got to do this, we got to do it for the kids. We have no other choice, or I know nothing else. And then they have a lower quality. So
I have a big example with my aunt. She divorced. She have one child, and then she decided like the 3 year after or 5 year after, when the child have like the 10 or 12, say, okay, I go back to my ex. And so all families say, what? And that is worse. So when we see the all crisis in the house, or impact more the child, because the child have more knowledge and see all these crazy situation, and they stay, I guess, 1 year and they separate again. So
and it's even worse, because maybe now you gave the child a false sense of hope that parents are getting back together. Oh, we're in the home, and then it's even a worse argument, but now they want to stay together, try to make it work out. And it, not saying it doesn't, and that is why. And we talked about, if you want to have a relationship with your ex, a better relationship with your ex, is that you got to become two different people by learning more, new knowledge, new exercises, create new thoughts, new brain, right? You can, neuroplasticity. Through that, you can grow your brain with new thoughts, new paths, new ideas. And if you have those, you do become two new people. And as two new people, maybe you can create that harmony between the two. You've tuned your guitar, she's tuned her piano, and you now can play harmonically together, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music.
Yes.
So we'd like to thank you for listening to Lisett
and Jim
on 90 Day Soulmate. We'll see you next week.
See you, bye.
90 Day Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Day Solutions, where you can get your step-by-step, easy-to-follow, simple plug-and-play plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be in 90 days. In just 90 days, you'll develop your vision, mission, and objectives. You'll get a diagnostic plan that includes a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, an evaluation of what you're looking for to develop a master plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be. 90 Day Solutions. See what you can be.
You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the relationship engineers, Jim Gulnick and Lisett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.